Hello and welcome to Channels Book Club. I'm Olakunle Kasumo. It's great to be back on the show again. Thank you for joining us. Today we've got two books in focus, two autobiographies actually in focus. My Mother's Daughter by Chief Mrs. Taiwo and Made in Aba by Senator Abaribe, although he corrected on how to pronounce that name properly. But you get to hear that from him very very soon. But today, what we're doing with Made in Aba is just a reading. But you may want to look out for the interview we had with him to review the book. Quite exciting, I have to say. But today, we'll just be showing you a reading from Made in Aba. But last week, we started an interview with Chief Mrs. Taiwo to discuss her autobiography, My Mother's Daughter, and it was quite a good time we had. And we promise to show you the continuation the conclusion of that interview, which we'll be doing just right about now. Please stay tuned.
Chief Mrs. Taiwo is the founding chairman and the current chairman of Atlantic Hall, a co-education non-profit secondary school. She is the founding chairman and trustee of Lagos Millennium Group on the environment. In August 2002, she founded the Art of Life Foundation, inspired by the life of her daughter, Abioye Aronke Taiwo, who had tragically passed away 4 months earlier. In 2019, she was awarded an honorary award by the Chartered Institute of Public Resources Management and Politics for her entrepreneurship achievements in Africa.
When you put your mind that you're going to do something, you have got to do it. That is what is in my genes. And but I don't allow myself, to wallow in it. Just like, the most devastating thing that happened ever in my life when I lost my only daughter. And my first thought was that I would never open my eyes again. And I just could not, I didn't want to get over it. But I said to myself, be so proud of me, that if I could feel her tap me, that, Mommy, if you don't know what I know, and you to do, that's why I'm so proud of it. I know you'll get up and you'll change the world.
I was fascinated by how you used tragedy to then do positive things to society. Um, Again, is that something you got from your mother, from your parents, or how?
Well, let me put it this way. With that tragedy, I never wish anybody to have such a thing. I didn't get that from my mother. But I just got the anger. Grief is about three things. Rage. How could God have let this happen? I just finished fasting for 40 days.
When it happened?
Yeah. Rage, guilt, and fear. Not anger, rage. And my rage was with God. And many people, when this happens to them, people come to them with a Bible and they said, are you a Christian? That is not what you want to hear. And people want to rush you out of what is your own journey. Don't rush people and say stupid things like, we must investigate this. I mean, come on, And I knew I had to teach people how to help others when they are. That's why when they go through terrific grief, that's why we set up. Professor Lambert was, may he still rest in peace. I went to him. I said, I want to help others to learn how to set up grief counseling, and we were the first to do that. And we trained grief counselors. We have them all over Nigeria. We did telephone counseling. And every time I do it, I feel a tremendous sense of you're doing God's work, and B is proud of me. I honestly believe that I have earned her an inner sanctuary in the she's getting spoiled to them.
And this is also a business book. There's a
Yes.
lot of entrepreneurship in
Oh
here.
yes.
19 was when you started the jewelry business, if
Yes.
I recall well, and even well before 19, you had started exploring different.
That was a very funny. I mean, I came back. I told you to Nigeria. I was like a fish out of water. I had not been. I didn't go to any of the schools. That everybody was already in a clique and a gang. I had to fight myself, and I did not live on the campus. So, but entrepreneurship came like having fun for me. But I'm also, I think, naturally good at organizing. I studied French, and at that time, there were not many of us that were Nigerians studied French, but there was a long, at that time, there was an exchange program between Nigeria and the Francophone countries, Senegal, Mali. So there were a lot of them in University of Lagos, and of course, they all became my friends. Everybody said, "Oh, there goes Taiwo with her Francos again," and I formed a Franco a French society, and I was the president. So I became very close to them in the embassies there, and I used to go to Cotonou, which I loved, and Togo, and that's how I got to meet a Senegalese jeweler, and I thought, you know, let me try it. I would take the jewelry from him, and I would bring it to university, and I would sell it, and I just had fun. I thought this is fun. It wasn't, and I honestly think, I mean, at the end of the day, my mother's friends, they were stunned that this girl, she doesn't need to do this. And they were also impressed. And so they were my best customers. They bought it for their daughters, they bought it for themselves. But I said, that's Lakpuri's daughter, all right? And my mother was always tickled pink when people said that to her.
And of course, she did all sorts.
Oh, she did. I said she's always been an entrepreneur.
Traded,
Petrol
built,
station.
rented, petrol station,
Everything.
and everything.
Yeah. Yes. She always made it look fun to be an entrepreneur, and I have to say she encouraged. I remember when I told her, how did I get into interior design? I mean, I've always been fascinated by curtains ever since I watched Gone with the Wind, which I've watched again and again, and I watched all the swags and tales. So when I was doing my house, I found nobody could do it. So I made it, and I went and bought too many books here with the swags and tales in them, and I had my little workshop in my mother's place, and she got excited. She was excited at my challenge in it. She got excited, and the more I got big contracts. It was all part. I mean, my main job was showing investment and properties, but I challenged myself, and I always say this: every one of those different, creative juices that I unleashed enhanced me. Because if I had not gotten into interior design and decoration, I mean, the key thing I learned was how you the key I always say to decorating or to dressing to everything is the mixtures of color. And people are always scared of that. They don't know that you can be daring and mix, yellow and blue and red, as long as there's a yin and a yang and a mixture, and that it's not about everything rhyming. And so creativity, I learned from that. So in every single one of those adventures, I learned. Yes.
It's a good production, by the way.
Thank you.
This is really nice. I've been talking a lot about people producing their books locally, and I'm happy
Yes,
you did
yes,
this.
yes, I did it.
And I enjoy looking at the photos when I'm reading memoirs. But I go to the photos first, and then I check out the photos. This is your mother.
Yes, my mom.
It was nice to put a face.
She was very elegant.
Yeah, yeah, that's her. Lovely.
Yes,
it's your
she was
mother.
a fashion icon.
And then this is your dad,
Yes.
Chief Samuel Olatunbosun Shonibare.
Yes.
He built the Shonibare estate, right?
Yes,
the
he did.
Maryland estate. What's it like to be his daughter?
You know, one thing about me is that I think it's I am who I am. It is wrong for me to attempt to seize my father's legacy, right? What he has created as mine. I owe myself, right, to embark on my own journey.
Find your own path and walk it.
Exactly. So I am proud of the family I come from, but I feel sad for people who think that because they are someone's son or child that they have a sense of entitlement. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It is what you make of your own journey that you will be judged by.
Mom and dad on their wedding day, how did you keep this photo? Lovely. look at that. Look at that suit. That was way back then. Mom and dad. And then there is your young self. Yeah, look at you there, Maryland Villa.
My young self, my
And you wrote about how this is you, young self at 21, Court Garden, Kensington.
That was
Yeah, and you wrote about how you were wearing these long socks when you came to Nigeria, and your
that was what we used to wear.
mini skirts and
micro mini.
people were staring at you and laughing at you.
They
and
were
all that.
indeed, and they were very. Nigerians are actually very tactless. Oh, they used to make fun of me.
And this is Lord Thompson.
Yes, of Fleet Street.
I was inspired by his story.
Yes, it's actually a Canadian.
He's Canadian.
Yeah, became the quintessential Englishman. He was a newspaper tycoon, you know, on the level of Rupert Murdoch. He owned the Times, all the newspapers in England.
He was your dad's mentor.
Yeah, and he was an oil merchant like Paul Getty, you know, and he loved my father very much.
Talking about mentorship, this book is really a book about mentorship, isn't it?
Yes.
Every young person out there needs a mentor.
Look, I was a member of Faith Foundation very proudly, started by Fola Adeola. The very first, I have to say. And he invited me to join as a board member. I said, Taiwo, we just can't see on earth. And I gladly joined. And one of the things that we committed to doing as a board member was to mentor young people. And I gladly did. If you ask me the question that, you know, was the burning, I mean, I think I helped a lot of them. The burning frustration that they all had was how to raise money. And of course, it is very difficult in Nigeria because the banks, before they lend you money, they ask you for your arm and your leg and your hand, you know, and they charge you so much. I think people have to be taught that there are other ways, you know. If you are selling goods, get your the person that you're buying from to give you 90 days credit, you know. That way you won't have to pay. It's all about gaining credibility. People are very unaware that there are many, many, many ways that you can get financial support outside of that. And all of them, that's always what the issue is. They can't find the money.
Mrs. Taiwo, thank you for this time. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
It's me too.
And well done, my mother's daughter.
Thank you.
Great. Nice to have you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this one.
Oh, yes, I did. Thanks for your time. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm a big fan of autobiographies. So many things packed in there. And what you just watched can't be compared with the experience of actually reading the book. So you may want to get a copy and read. There's so much people share when they write autobiographies, so many intricacies, so many experiences, so many lessons. For me, when it comes to counseling young people, I always say, lay your hands on memoirs and biographies and autobiographies as much as you read fictional works. You'll get to learn a lot from them. Up next is a reading from a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I wish many of our public servants can write more. There are a lot of things that we can learn from their experiences. But he's written an autobiography that has opened up so many things behind the curtains in Nigerian politics. So let's enjoy this introduction and reading from him.
My name is Enyinaya Baribe. I'm a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I'm the minority leader in the Senate. Minority leader, of course, means that from the majority, which is APC, and the minority, which is PDP and YPP, my colleagues elected me to lead the debate. What happens on the floor of the Senate is that when the majority leader starts a debate, I concur, and that's how we do our business. So this book that I have is titled Made in Aba, essentially because I am made in Aba. Born, bred, brought up in Aba. And of course, at the point that I was doing certain things in the Senate regarding the ingenuity and the resourcefulness of the people of Aba, I was doing what is called exhibition. So we used to bring exhibitors, people who do things, shoes, bags, belts, and other items, and exhibit. And at a particular time, I brought a lot of shoes and I gave it to all my colleagues gratis, and people in the National Assembly. And from that day, all my colleagues, they used to call me Made in Aba Senator, Made in Aba. And that kind of took my name. So that even up to today, some of them, when they see me, they wouldn't even call me my name, they just say Made in Aba. So that also inspired the title of the book. As for what made me write a book, just like one of the reviewers of the book said on the day of the launching, if you don't tell your own story, somebody else will tell it for you. And when that person tells that story, you will find that you will not even recognize yourself. Sometime, my late father, when he died in 1999-2000, we, in preparing to bury him, went through his books, we went through his items, we went through his suitcase and all the other things that he had kept. And in going through that, we now discovered that he had medals. We already knew that he was a World War II veteran who had gone to Burma and came back. We now discovered that he had these medals, about 5 or so medals, the Burma Cross, the this and that. And we're like, this man never told us about these medals and all that. We also found out something that was very, very startling to us as his children. We saw an intermediate certificate of accounting in 1942. So, which means that he must have been one of the very first Nigerians who did a correspondence course for accounting. And he already had an intermediate. And so, if he had the opportunity to be able to, like people do those days, after the intermediate course, they would be able to go to England and complete. He probably would have been the first accountant or so. This was in 1942. And it got me thinking. What got me thinking really was the fact that he kept all this away from us. Probably he didn't want to let us know how he suffered. He didn't want to let us know what made him become a soldier at that young age, about 1940s or 41 or so. And I felt that it would not be nice for me also to make the same mistake that my father made, making my children not know my journey through life. And that actually made me say, okay, why don't I just write a short story telling the world about myself? Because what people see me today, they see me as Abaribe, the politician, who is minority leader, who is espousing his own views on national affairs, but they don't know how I got to this point. And I felt that it was necessary to tell that story, and that is what led to this book. Now, I would take time to read a few part of this book. This is from chapter 4, Journey to Self-Discovery. Because usually you should also tell your story. This is how I became what I became, and these are the things that give me the guiding principle in life. I'm going to read from page 72, a very small, interesting story. I was appointed auxiliary teacher class 3 on a salary scale of D1 to 3. I was not sure what the classification meant, at least not until 8 February 1975, when I received my posting to Iheoji Secondary School in Aba. The second letter had detailed my emoluments. Scale D1 to 3 was from 516 naira to 1,016 naira. I was placed at the beginning of it at 516 naira, further described as pre-Udoji. For Nigerians of those days in the 70s, they know that there was a pre and post-Udoji. That meant that I received 43 naira a month in reality. All that interested me, though, was that I instantly became a rich man. In my life, I had never owned that much money. I was drunk on my huge fortune, 43 naira at once from my salary. Without much reflection, on receiving my first pay, which after tax came down to about 35 naira, I marched off with my booty straight to Ekoha Market in Aba to splash all of 20 naira on a pair of stiletto shoes. The trending fashionable brand at that time, reputed to have been made in Spain. I never owned any pair of shoes that were not locally made before then. Our stilettos up to then were made by one Echewodo, whose creativity was admirable. However, I had to show that I had made it into the big league. Arriving home, I happily displayed my purchase, anticipating a pat on the back from my family. My mother was stunned. Words failed her so totally that she merely shook her head sadly. Then she sighed and stated simply, "Young man, just wait until your father returns." Anaghị eji akpata erie aba ọgaranya, nwam. In other words, she meant that no one gets rich from spending all they earn at once. No one beat me. They just talked to me until they were satisfied that I had understood why they were disappointed about my action. I never felt more stupid in my life. The lesson I learned from that day has become the hallmark of who I am today.
In some episodes from now, we'll be reviewing the book, Made in Aba with Senator Abaribe. Please look out for that. Well, this is where we have to end the show today. As always, we'll be very delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumu. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.